Hello! Today I'd like to show you how to set up your Christmas lights rough pricing house only module. And the first place we're going to go to do that is we're going to go over to settings and services. Now you normally need to be able to look between your active and inactive modules. Make sure that you find it. You can see that in my inactive modules I have my house plus landscaping modules, but in my active area you can see I've already got the rough pricing house only module there. So if you need to flip it either direction, you can always click on make inactive, or you can click edit, and the way you'll edit it actually is you can just click on the name of it. Now if you ever need any help, always be sure to, you can click on this link here and it will take you to this video, plus also some other tips and tricks that are actually written down below the video. So here we have steps 1 through 4 of the Christmas Light Rough Pricing House Only module. You can see the first area is set up for the nicknames and the descriptions. And you can see that in the proposal structure, we're actually using the package item option as opposed to the individual item option. Individual item option basically means that we will only present one singular price whenever someone asks for a quote for that. In this case, we actually have already set it so that we can have different value propositions and bid against ourselves, which is always a best case scenario. We definitely recommend that. Now, in the case of hourly rate, you can see that the hourly rate is currently set to $0. This is a man hourly rate that could be used in step 3 when we're setting pricing. Instead of choosing dollars, you could actually say how many minutes or hours specific factors will take a man hour, how many man hours or minutes it would take to do. Now I'm going to leave these set to 0, but for your purposes, if you wanted to set up the hourly rate, which typically will be the same throughout all packages, then in the next area, in the pricing area, you'll be able to set it up so that you actually can say how long those factors will take. So let's quickly look at the packages. The way we have this one set up is all the house's roof line will be decorated with a strand of lights with C9 bulbs. This is what the basic package is. Now in the deluxe package, we actually upgrade, we do all of that, but we upgrade to the icicle lights. And in the premium package, we move to the C9 LED lights. So the package that's chosen could be picked by the customer, and of course you can click on the package names and name them however you wish, so that you might want to call this one C9 incandescent. Of course the shorter the name the better, so probably leave it the way it is, but you have the icicle package, your incandescent package, and your LED package, or something like that. Alright, so once you've got your, you can add as many lines as you need, or you can subtract lines if necessary. But once you've got your value propositions spelled out and they all build upon each other, then you can go to the next step. Now step 2, basically we already know that we're going to take into account the building square footage. We're going to take into account the number of stories that the building is. And then we have 2 questions. The first one is, how can we get to your roof? And you can set as many conditions as you'd like here if you'd like to add another option. Or you can delete the option if you'd like. By clicking here, but you can, if you need more granularity, you can do that. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that, and you'll always have access to that option. You can show deleted options if you ever need to. So once you've got your items there that describe the access to the roof line, the next one is, tell me about your garage. Do you have a detached garage, attached garage? How big is it? We left an other so we can cover all of our bases here. Again, if you need to edit, you can. Just keep in mind that when you edit, you never want to change what something means. You can only change you would only want to change what it says. And the reason I say that is that if I change yes to yes, detached to car, and I change this to no garage at all, well, everybody who's ever gotten a bid and selected this item, it's going to change them to say that item, and it'll continue to price the way that you have pricing set in the next step. So a good example of changing this might be, yes, detached to auto, because it means the same thing. It's just saying it maybe for a different geographic area. So you always want to be very careful that you don't change what something means. Once you've got all of your questions set up, the next step is pricing. And in the pricing area, we've got our flat pricing based on the in your settings form builder. You will have already set up what house sizes you're allowing, and you could use the menu or the graphic option, but however you've set up your houses, and then you also have set in some minimum pricing that you may or may not take advantage of. We'll talk about that in step 4. And also your service areas. So what cities you'll service, the minimum pricing for those cities, and the trip surcharge. Well, this comes into play in step 3 in that all the house sizes you've provided, you can now say that for the incandescent package, right, the basic package, to do all of the roof line and get that all set up, you expect that to be $150. Deluxe would be the upgrade to icicles for $200, and the small house premium, which would be LEDs, we have at $225. Now we got to talk about stories. So in this case, we're going to be accessing different stories. So in a one-story house, nothing is going to change, or if they indicate they have a basement, nothing will change with the way we have it set up here. Of course, you could change it to if you want, but right now it's currently set for the basic package, the incandescents. We're not going to charge anything for one story. But if it's a two-story, looks like there's a 25, 35, depending on the house size, a ladder access charge that'll be mushed into the price. And anyone with a 3 or 4 story house is not going to be able to get a quote until we override it. Now, in the case of the deluxe and premium, you can see that these are all set exactly the same, and that's fine. That makes a lot of sense because the ladder work in this case probably wouldn't change for LED versus icicle versus incandescent. But if for whatever reason in the deluxe package you needed to have a different price, you could do that, and it'll be different for your other packages. So your deluxe is 30 and your other ones are 25. For a small house, of course, you can change them as you need. Same for bid in person. You set that to the upcharge if you need to, or leave it as a bid in person item. For the access to the roof line, anyone who has an easy to access roof line will do nothing to the price. But if there are a lot of plants around the house that make it difficult to access the roof line, looks like across the board we're going to go 5% up. So that means that the base price, which is always all figured completely up here above the fine tune, in the case of a medium house, we're going to go ahead and add 5% or $10 to the basic. We're going to add an additional, what would this be, 22, I'm sorry, that would be half of 25, what was that, 13, 1250? That's what it is. So it would be 6250, or 260,250 is what would be added in for the total base price of the medium. So we're going to add 5% individually within each package, and you can change that to a percent or dollars, or again, here's that hours or minutes I talked about earlier. And if it would be impossible to access some of the roof line, this is something that we're going to look at in person, so we're not going to let that price fly through. Now, if someone doesn't have a garage, we're going to go ahead and ignore. We're not going to add any prices to any packages. But in the case of a basic, deluxe, or premium, we can add $150, $200, or $250 based on the package level. And that is how that would all work. Now, in the fourth step, this is where we would say, okay, area minimums, yes, we are going to, before we show a price, we're going to make sure that we satisfy the area minimums. We're going to make sure that we satisfy the house size minimums, and we're going to satisfy the trip, we're going to add a trip charge as needed to each package. Now, you can turn these off or on, and you can also set up a dollar minimum if you need to, which probably won't make a lot of sense since you have the house size base price taking care of it. But if you decided that you wanted to always set a certain dollar minimum for Christmas light rough house only pricing, then you could set your dollar package pricing, and any price that comes in less than this will be compared against any other minimum that would apply, and the highest minimum would be used in place of that. Volume discounts will actually not apply in this one, so we actually don't need to have that there. But here's the disclaimer that we would show to people when they do see package pricing, and here's the disclaimer we would show to people who we can't show pricing to until we get an override. So what would this look like? Well, if I go to my dashboard here, I've got a test bid that I've run for Jack Bauer. And I guess I should say first, let's look at the smart form. If we click on Christmas lights, you can see that the first thing we're going to ask is name and information, but we're going to find out how big their house is, how many floors it is, and whether they have a basement or not. Well, that information is obviously being used, but also if they click on rough pricing, they'll need to say, how do I access the roof? And they'll have the drop down of the options that you gave, and then whether they have a garage or not. And there's the options that we set up before. So in my test bid, if we go to Jack Bauer again, you can see that in the Christmas light module, this person has a small house that's 1 story. Okay? You can also see that it's easy to access the roof line, and they have attached 2-car garage. Well, if I went ahead, I know that this will cause a bid in person. If I make this a 3-story and it recalculates the quote, you can see that now my pricing is saying that I need to adjust for a number of stories. This is a taller house than we normally would have. So I look at that and I say, okay, it's a 3-story property. I go look at the house and I say, yep, that's going to be a $300 surcharge for access. So you can add that. If you want to add a different amount for other packages, you can. But I'm going to go ahead and just keep that consistent. And premium package. There we are. Okay, so there's all of my overrides for house height. And there we are. Now our price was able to kick through. And of course you saw that if it's impossible to reach my access my roof line, that'll once again take us into a bid in person where we'll have to provide another override for accessing the roof. And maybe we look at it and say, that's just not that big a deal. So we go ahead and ignore that override. It's not necessary. And there you have it. So here is the pricing now. And you can see that the proposal that the customer will be able to click the link from their follow-up emails potentially. This is what the proposal would look like. Here are the service details, and they can hopefully select a package. So hopefully all of that helps you out in your ResponsiBidding effort with the Christmas Light module. Of course, let us know if you have any questions, but that's how the Christmas Lights Rough Pricing House Only module works.